In this Lok Sabha election, the rhetoric for choosing a leader best fit to take care of our national security has been the loudest and the noisiest. The enemy has to be shown that India is not weak. So let's vote for someone who can protect the people, the land from any external threats. But what has received almost nil attention is one of the biggest national security threats we face today. Not from any external enemy or another country, but from the enemy within, air pollution. And no, we are not being dramatic at all. Today, in the final episode of our election series, Urban Vote Matters, we're going to talk about deadly air pollution, the biggest threat to our health, to our children, and our future. New Delhi, the capital this time, has broken the record for poor air quality in the summers. We don't have to wait for winters anymore to hit a crisis on air pollution. On May 12th, when people went out to cast their vote, recorded AQI or air quality index in most parts of Delhi showed a 300 plus, which is just a notch below severe. What will it take for everyone, politicians, policymakers, citizens, to wake up to this dangerous enemy at home? Joining me for some answers are Jyoti Pandey Lavakare. She's the co-founder, Care for Air NGO. We also have with us Dr. Neeraj Jain, Chairman, Department of Chest Medicine, Sir Gangaram Hospital. Polash Mukherjee, Lead Air Quality Mobility and Climate Resilience at NRDC, India. And we have with us Sudhir Mishra, environmental lawyer and founder and managing partner, Trust Legal. Everybody, thank you very much for joining me on this very important conversation. Jyoti, I am not the first one to say that this is a national crisis and the biggest national threat. I think you were the one who raised it first in an earlier program. What is it that we are unable to comprehend the gravity of the situation? Why is it still a line or a paragraph in most manifestos?
So the biggest problem is that there is still a lack of awareness of how terrible and toxic this air is as we breathe it, because it is an invisible problem and it affects you in a longer term. So people are not able to see it. And therefore, even when people know in an abstract way, because there is a lot of research done around this, they don't actually understand that it is affecting them, their children, their own parents. The other problem that I really find is that people assume that this is a problem in northern India. This is a problem in the entire country. This is not a problem that is located in certain pockets of India. There are areas in India that are still not being monitored and we're not getting enough data. But the minute you have data from every part of India, you will find almost 95% of the country is living with toxic air pollution that they are breathing in. And once that connection is made in everybody's mind between air pollution and poor health, that is when there will be a greater drive for change. And that is when our politicians will start realizing that they can't but make a difference here.
Well, right. Polash, would you agree with that? I mean, I just asked my team to call out 5 most graphics and 5 most polluted cities of India. Delhi, Kanpur, Noida, Gurugram, Agra and Ghaziabad. Barring Kanpur, which is next to us, Agra literally is touching now the NCR region. Faridabad, no less polluted. If I increase the list. But what Jyoti is saying is that, it is a national issue and it should have mattered in a national Lok Sabha election. The reason why the others probably escape the numbers is because their air quality is not getting monitored, there's no scrutiny.
I think she's very right, and there are 2 points I'd like to put here just to support that. The first is that Delhi NCR has 1/3 of the country's monitoring network. 1/3 of the country's monitoring network is in Delhi NCR.
And so 2/3 is for the rest of India, which means it's so poorly monitored.
Exactly. And the second thing is that even today, when we're talking about monitoring and we're talking about action, a lot of the time the policymakers and the regulators use the lack of data or the perceived lack of data to not take action. Lack of data is never an excuse not to take action. And the Supreme Court has carried this principle in its orders many times. So when we talk about air pollution, Delhi is not the only area. Other areas need to be looked at. And I think the bigger idea here is that air pollution is incredibly complex, and therefore the solutions are multifaceted. And that is something that seriousness needs to come in, especially this year when there's an election.
So there is, yes, so it is not a Delhi issue at all. It is a national issue. Let me get Dr. Jain in. Dr. Jain, Jyoti Pandey made this first observation that the reason we don't consider it as a national emergency is because people simply don't understand the health hazards of air pollution. I mean, they do not get how dangerous is it. Why don't you tell our audience what does air pollution do to them?
Well, I would disagree a little bit there. The last few years, especially around Diwali, we talk about air pollution. Yes, we don't talk about it the rest of the year when it is actually a perennial problem. I think, data is not required. We've got enough data around the world to see, what air pollution does to us, all generations, from the newborns to the elderly. And we have enough data to say that our hospital admissions and the increased incidence of asthma and respiratory diseases in children have been on the rise. There is enough data there. The problem here is that an emergency in our country is perceived as a disaster, a sudden event. This is much worse than an emergency. This is slowly pervading our society and it is causing damage which we may not be able to reverse. The health hazards include acute deaths in people with, whose immunity is compromised, who've got chronic heart disease, lung disease, kidney disease. Then you have the increased incidence of asthmatics, which is increasing the morbidity, increased incidence of COPD. And then you have the cardiac ailments, you have the pregnant women who are being affected, the newborns who are being affected, then the carcinogens in the air, which are going to show their impact maybe 10 years, 20 years down the road. And these are all emergencies in my opinion. And these are all facts. This is not a myth. It's not a figment of my imagination. So I think there is enough data. I think the problem is complex. Like Palash said, that the problem is complex. And no one is willing to sit down and work out solutions. It is going to take time, but somebody needs to take the bull by the horns and get on with it.
All right, Dr. Jain, is the problem complex? Let me ask you, because it's a very, very simple thing, Mr. Mishra. If you've got Beijing, which was once the most polluted city of the world, it could clean up its air, and so dramatically. Why is it a complex problem? I mean, we know what health hazards it causes. We know what is causing air pollution. We do know the solutions. We have, bodies which are supposed to implement it. We have a national action plan, and yet we are saying it's a complex problem.
Because the entire environmental debate in this country in the last 30, 40 years is not populist. It is not populist. If tigers were being saved and if forests were being saved, that was also not populist. Supreme Court came in picture, that's why they were saved. Air pollution is something which is again identified as if it's an urban issue. And if it's an urban issue, it's not an election issue for you, since you're talking about elections. I was convincing Congress to put it in their election manifesto as part of that. And they used the word air pollution as a health emergency. Maybe for the first time any political party has symbolically at least tried to do it. But the larger issue is we filed a public interest litigation in my name in 2015, which is a singular air pollution matter in Delhi High Court, because National Green Tribunal normally deals with these issues. But I went and said, look, I don't want cancer. Okay. Now, if I don't want compensation, I don't want cancer, where do I go? I'm not going to be in NGT because I don't want compensation. The problem is you have ICMR data, you have doctors writing on prescriptions now, MCI is saying that you write on prescriptions, but where are the politicians who are being compelled to take up this issue? So if the rural people who are the most affected, even the rural people who are residing in the rural areas of Delhi, who are going in an auto rickshaw or the traffic constable or the traffic havaldar,
urban poor,
and the third class 3 and class 4 employees, the drivers and the other people, even they are not a priority for any political party. Traffic police also.
The people who
so I filed an application for traffic police people that they should be given masks and the kind of mask which can protect them. But has anybody even thought of screening them properly, how badly they suffer?
So there are problems where there are solutions immediately to at least protect the poorest. Let me just go through the manifesto now. BJP manifesto claims it will turn National Clean Air Program into a mission and will reduce air pollution by 35% in the next 5 years. That is their promise. we also had Nitin Gadkari on the other side claim that Delhi will be completely free of air and water pollution in the next 3 years. So there's a contradiction right up front, but we'll go with the manifesto. Now let's look at Congress and AAP. Now, Congress and AAP have both listed pollution in their manifestos with claims of reducing emissions, strictly enforcing laws and so on. How do you do it? I mean, it all looks fabulous on paper. It's not like we don't have a policy. We have a policy, but we have a policy of reducing it in 5 years by 25%, but we are actually seeing an increase every year, Jyoti Pandey.
So there are two things here. You don't just need advisory groups coming up to say that yes, we have pollution, and in 5 years it will come down 35%. How will it come down? What are the steps? What are the legal and other resources that will make it come down? Where is the accountability if it doesn't come down? There have to be measurable goals. This is not something that you can't measure. You can, if you say that I will bring pollution down from X amount to Y amount within 5 years by doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you're specific about it, then I even buy that you're keen to do something like this. The other point that I just wanted to make was air pollution actually does not just affect our lungs. That is another myth. It is affecting every single part of our body. It affects people. It gives you dementia. It can cause autism. It can affect every single part of your body, and not many people know that. And that is again the issue when you have a government which is where there is not enough awareness of how even pollution is affecting your health, then it does not have the push, the public anger to say, no, you are killing me by not cleaning my air. In fact, I would go as far as to say air pollution is a human rights violation. I was on a call this morning with David Boyd, who is a special rapporteur with the UN Human Rights Council, and he has agreed, and many South Asian and other countries are coming up with petitions to them saying that air pollution is actually a human rights violation and there needs to be action taken on this. And so it goes beyond being just a national health emergency. It becomes a human rights violation, and I think we need that kind of urgency to sort out a problem of such mammoth proportions as this.
I think the operative word, Dr. Jain, and I would like you to come in here, is an emergency. I don't think there is enough awareness. You say, look, yes, the Indian Council of Medical Research has come out with a report. We talk about it around Diwali every season. There are headlines. But I don't think, do you really believe that it's sunk into people that it's not just lungs, it's not just cancer, it's not just asthma, it's actually affecting every part of their body? Do you believe that public awareness is where we need to start at?
I think public awareness definitely is where we need to start at, and I think every area needs to not only take on the responsibility themselves. So each individual has to take on this responsibility. There are lots of things that we can do as individuals to help bring the pollution down. So, the first thing starts at your own level, and then I agree that accountability at the local level, somebody should be given targets to implement the legislation that already exists, and if that is not done, then there should be somebody answerable for that. I have a very, I think a very effective way would be to target schools. We have approached schools all over the country with an asthma program, how to manage asthma in schools. As an extension of that, if you sensitize the parents of the children who are attending these schools, and trust me, there are lots of children who were never asthmatic who are now developing asthma, and there's no family history of asthma, and that can be linked directly to pollution. Start with those kind of local resources. Get people sensitized and let them pressurize their local administrators and the government and the center to take action. If there is a law and it is not being implemented, there should be immediate action. Where is the discussion?
Okay,
I can't understand.
Is there a law,
why are we
Polash?
discussing
Is there
this?
a law? Or it's a policy? I know. But Jyoti mentioned that it is not a law yet.
If you're talking about the National Clean Air program, it's a policy. And even conversion into a mission will not necessarily give it the legal tools to enforce, to be able to enforce it.
So then what are we talking about?
Exactly.
It seems even more hollow, even more empty. Exactly. There is no law which holds anybody accountable or responsible for implementing anything to do with air pollution.
I think coming back to what Dr. Jain was saying, a simple implementation of the laws that we already have, that would make much more effect than anything that we have planned. Because currently a lot of things exist on paper, a lot of rules for industries, for vehicles, for a lot of different sources of pollution exist on paper, but just getting them actually done on the ground is the problem. The other point I wanted to raise earlier also was that all our approach towards pollution has always been to play catch up. We are trying to reduce pollution in the places where they are already polluted. We are never doing preventive we are never taking preventive measures. Talking of urbanization, India is stated to become the largest urban city in the next 30, 40 years.
And we wear that badge very proudly.
Exactly.
Without realizing what the fallout of that urbanization process will be.
So the current tier 2, tier 3 cities, the state capitals, those are the places where pollution can be prevented now. And nothing is being done.
The State of Global Air 2019 found that only 15% of Indian population lives in areas where the air quality is below the acceptable pollution concentration levels prescribed by the World Health Organization or WHO. This is their guideline of healthy air. Yet air pollution is one of the least discussed issues in this election season. Today on Urban Reality, on our special Urban Vote Matters, we're just talking about air pollution crisis and how do we get policy makers to wake up to this crisis. Let me start with you, Sudeep Mishra. You said that you helped prepare the Congress manifesto. It all again, like all our panelists have said, looks very good on paper. How will you get it implemented by that party?
It will be very difficult to get it implemented. I just contributed as a citizen of this country because I thought at least somebody's talking about it.
If we've written it and we've already said it's going to be very difficult to implement, it means we've lost that war.
Because the idea is that you have to involve the people in a very big way. Most of the countries which have virtually 1/10 of our kind of solution, our kind of problems on pollution, they have public health campaigns which are far bigger. Whether it's schools, photographs, vehicles having posters, billboards having signs, emergency, emergency. Here we are living in denial. Our biggest issue is that whether we are urban, whether we are middle class, whether we are poor, we are living in a denial. We all know how badly we are affected by it. We all will be consuming more and more. We want more and more cars on the road, all of us, including me. And we have no plan B for this entire thing. So our consumption is the real issue. The government can't do much. The courts have given up already. In my understanding, the courts are realizing it's a very difficult task for them.
You have painted such a scary picture for us.
I'm going to just say one more thing.
You're saying courts have given up. It is extremely difficult to implement.
Jyoti said a very important
Government
thing.
can't do much.
She talked about the human rights. And he was so right in saying laws, India always has the best in the world. You have fundamental rights here. You have ensured the right to privacy. You have ensured right to life.
Right to breathe clean air.
So right to breathe clean air will not be given to us unless we demand and snatch it away.
How do we demand it? I mean, we do raise the discourse, we have headlines. How do we demand it, Jyoti?
One of the ways of doing it is to improve transparency. Today, if I as a citizen know which are the polluting industries, I will not buy their products. If I know which car is the least polluting versus the most polluting, I will prefer to buy the least polluting car.
Can't even you do simple things like just even ban diesel cars for private use? I mean, these are steps. How difficult it is for any government to take.
Demonetize cars.
And you know, I would actually go to the next step and say, why does a small family of 4 people need 4 cars? I mean, at some point you have to use the market economy because you see there are very strong car lobbies. You want to sell the cars, but then it's a collective resource. I don't understand where, if you are not allowed to smoke in public, why are you allowed to light the trash in public? Why are you allowed to pollute the air by burning your waste, by burning even firecrackers, when I'm not allowed to smoke in public? At least it's a choice. I have a choice to spoil my own lungs by smoking, but I don't have a choice.
You're saying that the solutions are doable, but it has to be both ways. It has to be citizens themselves. Kailash, do you believe that if they truly understood the dangers of air pollution, there would be more demand from the citizens to take this topic up?
Agreed. I would say just 2 things right now. In the short term, there are some very low-hanging fruits that will have big, huge effects. Power sector is one. Industrial standards are one. Automotive sectors are one.
Vehicles, biggest contributors, 41%.
So these are big sectors that can get us immediate goals. In the long term, there is no substitute for public awareness, and that will only come, unfortunately, over a generational shift. Children today are more aware than we were at their age, and when they grow up to be active citizens, they will demand these questions which should have been demanded 10 years ago.
Okay. Dr. Jain, do you believe that it's very difficult to implement? One, if you get the awareness going, if you can even have simple policies like electric vehicle policy implemented true to its spirit, I think we have doable solutions to control air pollution.
When we have evidence that something is harming us and there is a law that exists, that should be implemented ruthlessly. Yes, some people will suffer. There are vested interests. You know, everyone has vested interests, I'm sure. But then you have to take that step. And I, for one, believe that the existing laws should be implemented straight away, and we should sensitize. I am repeating myself. We should sensitize. You see, we are worried about ourselves. I grew up in Delhi. I've lived in Delhi all my life. There's a much cleaner place. My foundation is probably not as bad as the children that are growing up now. Why are we not even thinking we are going to create a diseased generation? And I can assure you that is the truth. I am not exaggerating. Sensitize the parents of children. Please make the people aware that we are going to have an unhealthy generation.
Sensitize
and
the
generations
parents.
to come.
Dr. Jain,
if we don't, absolutely, till we don't actually do that, I'm not sure we'll be able to achieve.
all right,
anything.
Dr. Jain, I think you've raised a very, very important point that let's start with parents. I mean, how can a parent not care for their child's health? And once you've got that driven in the message, probably the pressure will start building to make air pollution, or let it be understood as a national emergency and a national crisis. Jyoti Pandey Lavkare, Dr. Neeraj Jain, Polash Mukherjee and Sudhir Mishra, thank you very much for joining in. We're going to keep this conversation going. I mean, we have to keep the pressure up. Unless air pollution acquires a significance, like we all our panelists have said, of national emergency and national security, for the next set of parliamentarians, I think we are headed towards a very grim future. So let's keep our fingers crossed and let's all do our little bit. Thank you so much for joining me.